The political landscape of both Britain and the USA are currently experiencing huge changes. This can, and most probably will, mean big differences to the relationship between the consumer and responsible fashion. A looming change in the UK is Brexit. Already the value of the pound has decreased massively, causing inflation and a higher cost of living. This could mean that the customer is more unwilling to part with more money in order to ensure that their products are sustainable. Donald Trump winning the election brings uncertainty. People are unsure of the policies that he'll introduce and furthermore their effects. This could mean that people across the USA are more careful with their money, shopping around to get the best deals and therefore avoiding the more expensive responsible fashion retailers in favour of discounted stores. Trump has still not confirmed whether or not he'll end the TTP deal, which joins 12 countries across the Pacific Rim. However, if he does end the agreement, it could mean higher manufacturing costs throughout the world due to the impact of a raise in the import taxes. In the last week in Britain, Nicola Sturgeon, the leader of the SNP in Scotland, has said that she'd like to move for a second independence referendum for the Scottish people following the results of the Brexit referendum. This will undoubtedly cause huge changes to Britain, and the uncertainty could lead to large companies losing confidence and withdrawing investments from Britain and Scotland. On the other hand, Britain's exit from the EU and the changes this could mean to import taxes could drive production to the UK. As the UK has generally higher minimum wage and a better welfare state, increased production in the UK could mean that fashion could become more responsibility just by moving production away from poorer countries, which may have a more exploitative industry in regards to the way it treats its workers. Lastly, in both the US and the UK, there are likely to be big changes to the immigration system and the number of immigrants being allowed into each country. Typically, immigrants take on the lower skilled, low wage jobs that are found within the manufacturing sector, so limiting the number of immigrants allowed into the country could mean a shortage of skilled workers available to work in the factories and actually create garments, and therefore driving business back away to the poorer nations.
Hello, my name is Natalia. I'm going to introduce my findings of economic factors which related with ethics and fashion. First of all, I would like to introduce United Kingdom economy after the Brexit. British pound has dropped by 20% against American dollar, which increases prices in all retail sector. Also increases the people's shopping behavior and the sales are dropped down. Shoppers are spending money on leisure rather than on clothes. However, big brands like Marks and Spencer, Zara, etc. are still sourcing from cheaper countries, which doesn't mean that all of them is on fair wages and working conditions. For example, workers in Bangladesh are strikes because retailers refusing to pay more for basic clothes, which means it is harder to negotiate with them, and the consequence is factories are closing down. However, H&M, being such an ethical company, announced that they are drive up wages by 2018 within their supplier chain. The factor affects a discount culture, which means that in Europe and UK has been scheduled 6 markdown periods instead of 3. Also, the outlets and discount shops number are double in North America and China. The next, I would like to talk about zero-hour contracts within UK. Criticized for being a lack of job security and leaving workers without guaranteed income, 0 hours contracts are designed so employers have no set hours but expected to be available for work and when required. Working hours can be cut without notice, meaning pay varies from week to week. In fashion retail, those with such a contracts are most likely to work in warehouse or on the shop floor. The sense of dissatisfaction surrounding 0 hour contracts was heightened after SportDirect admitted that 15,000 of its UK employees or 75% of its workforce were on them. Hope you have found some interesting from my short report. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Regina and I will be discussing the social and legal aspects of the challenges and best practice of responsible fashion throughout the UK and the USA. Throughout many methods of my research, I have found that the majority of factors which have been in effect on responsible fashion lies wholly within companies and the public use of social media and the way consumers think about products and habits in which they purchase them. Firstly, in order for responsible fashion to become more prevalent within the apparel industry, Guardian suggests that it's time for ethical fashion brands to decide on what the audience they are speaking to and why. The movement's current blind spot is young millennials, who have largely been excluded from the ethical fashion conversation. Millennials as a group often prove to be the most interested in brands dedicated to social change over the years. A recent study by the Boston Consulting Group also found that 50% of 4,013 to 34-year-olds contacted in the US believe brands say something about who I am, my values, and where I fit in, while 48% of US millennials choose to buy brands from that are active in supporting social causes throughout the world. However, a recently published consumer study found that 52% of UK, US and Canadian consumers believe that businesses' alignment with social or charitable causes is half-hearted, which means 88% are concerned that the money isn't actually going where it's promised to be going, and over 75% state that companies do not disclose enough information about how consumers and corporation funds are allocated to the charity or social causes that they are said to be doing so. This means that a lot of consumers who do wish to purchase products with ethical or responsible statuses may refrain from doing so because they do not 100% believe that the brand does have the ethical promises that they do aspire to. This is where social media comes into play hugely within the responsible fashion forum. For example, Emma Watson, an actress who portrayed the beloved character of Hermione in Harry Potter, has created an Instagram account called The Press Tour, which wholly focuses on advertising the brands she wears, whom have a very big connection with the responsible fashion term. As many of millennials have grown up with her character, she has an impeccable impact throughout the UK and USA. So by just creating this simple Instagram account, broadcasting what she's wearing, who she's wearing, and the ethical beliefs and wishes behind those brands, she is communicating with a huge audience and making them aware of the topic of responsible fashion.
Hi, I'm Rachel and I'll be talking about how technology links to responsible fashion. So first, with my research, I had a look at what steps big brands are making to be more responsible while using technology. So for Swedish brand H&M, they have the non-profit H&M Foundation, and they have a 4-year plan to develop technologies to recycle blended textiles into new fabrics and yarns, and plan to license the technology widely to ensure broad market access and maximum impact. I then had a look at California-based company Air Dye Solutions, and they've designed a dyeing process that uses 85% less energy and 90% less water than conventional dyeing. The dyeing process is normally a highly polluting process that involves many chemicals, waste and water usage. Air dye reduces water usage and reduces the emissions and energy used dramatically, since extreme heat is needed to dry textiles after they are soaked in dye. I then looked at how 3D printing technology links to responsible fashion. 2 University of California engineering professors designed a sponge suit using 3D printing technology. It looks just like a bikini, and the material used is called sponge and is made from nanocarbons originating from sugar. The idea of the bikini is the sponge-like material repels water but absorbs oil, designed to help filter impurities from water and turn swimming into an eco-friendly activity. A student at Cornell University in the US created a 3D clothing line called Recycle 3D. The clothes in the collection are 3D printed and also recyclable. The idea of the clothing is to be multi-purpose and can morph into different outfits by adding sleeves, pockets or even a hood, reducing the need for many different garments. I also found companies using innovative processes to create clothing using unconventional materials. German company Q-Milk have designed an innovative process to produce a textile fibre from milk. The Q-Milk fibre is made from 100% renewable resources. It is naturally antibacterial and ideal for people that suffer from textile allergies. The Q-Milk fibre is biodegradable and leaves no traces. Bionic Yarn are another company that uses technology to create yarns and fabrics from plastic bottles. The bottles are collected, chopped up, melted down and spun into yarn and woven into eco-friendly fabric. Bionic Yarn are based in New York and have developed a variety of different fabrics, including denim. And finally, while researching, I found the IntelliBins app, and it can be used on Android and iPhone and locates the nearest place to recycle a variety of different materials. The app maps over 1,000 different recycling points covering 21 materials with everything from electronics, bottles, bubble wrap, and most importantly, clothing.
Since clothing so rapidly becomes unfashionable and not wearable, people end up with a lot of unwanted clothing. Instead of recycling their unwanted garments, it is not unusual for people to throw them in the trash. People find it is simply easier to throw that once worn t-shirt from last season into the trash than it is to give to charity. In Britain, on average, about £65 of clothing and textiles a year are improperly discarded, and only an eighth of that goes to charities to reuse. The wasted clothes end up in landfills where it stays and pollutes the ground and water. Here are some other issues that the textiles and clothing industries have on the environment, approaching towards eco-friendly textiles. The pesticides that farmers use to protect textiles as they grow can harm wildlife, contaminate other products, and get into the food we eat. This is a very large problem in China. With China being the country where most of the textiles are produced, many of the chemicals get out of hand and damage the earth. The working conditions in textiles and clothing industries are substandard. Many industries are of poor quality and can be harmful to the environment and to the employee. Industries overuse natural resources like plants, water, and other substances, which disturbs ecological balance. Most of the textile machineries cause noise, sound, and air pollution, which is also a bad matter for the environment. An example of a company that works well with environmental factors is H&M. In the USA alone, more than 10.5 million tons of clothes end up in landfills each year, and even natural fibres may not break down easily. It's great that H&M is replacing part of its conventional cotton supply with organic, however this can still cause landfill overage. H&M seems genuine in its desire to clean up its environmental act, but when it comes to sustainable and responsible fashion, the core problem for fast fashion companies is its business model. Both Europe and the USA suffer from the same range of environmental factors. Industries just need to clean up their act by using more sustainable materials and recycle what they don't use. Also looking into ensuring the working conditions are of their best.
As mentioned in the social aspects of this video, consumers do not believe that some brands are entirely ethical and responsible as they claim to be. Therefore, there are many factors that could help consumers to trust the ethics of a brand. For example, there are many legal aspects which may help brands to prove their trust. Consumers expect sustainability efforts to be integral to how companies do business. Commitment to sustainability for mere public goodwill and for the good reputation is seriously condemned within consumers and the public in today's societies. So in order for consumers to trust brands, simply must not adhere to regulations and standards, but also talking about compliance in a transparent way. In the case of the fashion industry, legal compliance is of considerable complexity due to the industry's globalised supply chains. Depending on where a fashion company operates, regulatory compliance may include, for example, the Bribery Act 2010, which is based within the UK, that enacts penalties to all commercial companies which links to the UK for active bribery within their companies while producing products. Alien Tort Act within the USA allows courts to hear human rights cases brought by foreign citizens for conduct outside the US. So that's if a brand would have a warehouse, say, in the Middle East, and they're conducting basic human rights violations within those warehouses, then this act allows those foreign citizens to come to the US and bring it to the courts. There's also a legal act called Transparency in Supply Chain, which is based in California in the US. This requires companies with any kind of business in California, including those who simply sell goods into the state, to disclose their efforts to ensure that their supply chains are free from slavery and human trafficking. The REACH regulation in the EU, which includes the UK, makes industry responsible for assessing and managing the risks possessed by chemicals and providing appropriate safety information for their users. So for the fashion industry, this is important relating to dyes, finishes, and potentially even to pesticides. And finally, there's the 511/2009 regulation for the UK, which forbids the use of phosphors in most detergent and washing processes. So if all those legalities are taken into consideration and actually posted on like websites that brands do claim to be ethical, then they're posing a lot more of a chance for their consumers to trust in them for their ethical and responsible fashion claims.